Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about if you are training properly. This is part of an essay which I've written on my website, which you can see at www.dantesinese.com, called Are You Training Properly? So guys, are you training properly? The big question. Why ask this question at all? Because it's an important question because no one really wants to go to the gym and utilize their time and feel like it's not yielding any benefit. There actually is a distinction between exercise and training, and the distinction between exercise and training I think has been best made by Mark Rippetoe in his book Starting Strength, which delineates the differences being exercise is physical activity for its own sake, a workout done for the effect it produces today, whereas training is physical activity done with a longer-term goal in mind, the constituent workouts of which are specifically designed to produce that goal. What does this mean in simpler terms? Effectively, it means that exercise is done for the sake of itself. It is an activity done, no matter what it is, whether it's cardio, weight training, running, deadlifting, whatever the exercise is, it's done for the sake of itself, just to burn sort of calories. It's done for the day, it's done to sort of feel good for the short term, whereas training is a set of exercise done specifically for an outcome, to get from point A to point B. So all the exercises and all the sessions are specifically framed to get you from one point to another. That's why following a training program is more beneficial than just going into the gym and willy-nilly sort of doing whatever you want. And this is sort of the training experience of most people that go into the gym. You'll find a lot of people don't actually have a training program and don't actually really know what they're doing. That's why hiring a coach or getting a program for someone that is more experienced than you is a good way to start your training life, really. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with performing non-specific physical activity once again, because obviously doing physical activity at all is better than sitting on the couch. I'll always preface that. The health benefits of actually moving relative to not moving is exponentially more. The reduced in mortality due to various causes is far reduced when you actually exercise as opposed to not exercise. So I'm not saying moving at all is not good, I'm just saying when you're putting in your effort, you want to make sure it's maximally utilized and you want to make sure you're optimally getting to the point that you want to be. Since there is a distinction between physical activity and training, the next question one might ask rather, is what is training properly? So a training program follows 5 principles. That's specificity of training, so it's how specific are the exercises to the outcome that you want. Intensity, it's how difficult is the exercise to reach the desired goal. Duration, that's how long is the session or the exercises done which replicate the sort of outcomes that you want. Overload is how difficult or how is the increase in difficulty occurring to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And frequency, it's how often are you doing sessions which are helping you to facilitate the adaptations to get from where you are to where you want to be. Despite there being 5 main methods, the 2 main ones that we're actually going to look at is going to be called specificity of training, and it's going to be overload, specifically progressive overload. Now, why are these 2 the most interesting? Well, specifically because a person's lifestyle might affect how the duration, so how long the sessions might be, or the frequency, or how often they can train. Whereas, and the intensity is sort of relative to certain outcomes. But in terms of the 2 main levers of a training program, it's going to be specificity, so is your exercise specific to what you want to do, or overload is how are you increasing the difficulty of the training program to elicit the adaptations or to demonstrate adaptations. Because those are going to be the 2 main things. So I think I've just done a loop there. But those are going to be the 2 primary factors that dictate a proper training program. For example, if you want to get better at guitar, you're not going to get practice playing piano. So that's going to be specificity of training. So it's the idea that when you go about doing a training program, if you want to get bigger legs, you're going to train leg muscles. You're going to get bigger biceps, you're going to train the bicep muscle. It's actually a principle that is often neglected when looking at programs. This is the problem with most group fitness classes, is that They are just very general programs to sort of get every muscle group, and there's nothing worked specifically for anyone that goes there. It's just sort of general adaptations, which isn't a bad thing in itself if that's what you want. But if you want specific outcomes, you have to be specific. And in terms of overload or progressive overload, it's the idea that how often are you increasing the sets, the reps, and or the weight? And yeah, how often are you increasing the sets, the reps, and the weight? Selectively increasing any of those metrics, whether that's trying to increase in reps every session, whether that's trying to increase every set maybe week to week, or whether it's trying to add more weight onto the bar week to week, is going to be a good indicator whether the training program is actually working, because you can distinctively see if you are actually progressing. This is another problem with group fitness or non-specific programs, or people that don't follow training programs, is because they don't actually track how much weight they do for an exercise, how many reps or how many sets they do. So when they go through and do it the next time, there's no way to actually tangibly tell if there has been improvement. Whereas if you know that you've done a certain weight for an exercise, a certain amount of sets and a certain amount of reps, then you can see the following time if you've gotten more reps and you've improved, if you've gotten more weight then you've improved. And this is a tangible way to actually assess if you're getting better or not. That's why specificity and progressive overload are the most important principles when it comes to determining the effectiveness of a training program, or getting you from where you want to be, from where you are to where you want to be. Now there's something called the stress recovery adaptation cycle, which is also discussed in Starting Strength, and which is where I read it. And it's the idea that you need a certain amount of stress applied. There is then going to be a decrease in performance, and then there's going to be a recovery from that, and then that's going to be the adaptation. So it's going to be the new baseline of performance, which I'll put up on the screen. And that pretty much summarizes why you would do progressive overload. So you're applying a stress, which is whatever exercise you're doing for the sets, reps, and weight. And then that's going to cause the stressor, which is then going to require an adaptation, which then will increase your performance when you recover from it. So for this reason, there's an idea proposed by Jordan Feigenbaum from Barbell Medicine, who is someone I also follow, which alludes to the idea that progressive overload is not necessarily a training principle, but so much as a result sometimes of the training program. So you can want to increase in reps, sets, and weight, but it's not necessarily involuntarily pushing those that you get the adaptations, but so much the act of actually doing the training sessions, and then you're able to perform a higher amount of sets, reps, and weight, which then allows for further adaptation. It's a little bit more complex. I thought I'd just chuck that in there for those of you who were interested. But the big basis of this whole idea of training is that there is a distinction between training and just exercise. And if you are training, it's the idea that you are tracking your progress, you are recording that down. It's the idea that your exercises are very specific for the outcomes that you want, no matter what they are, whether it's lose weight, which is a dietary intervention, but let's just say it is. Whether it's to gain muscle for specific muscle groups, or to increase in power or strength in certain muscle groups, then you would choose the exercises appropriate for that. Or if it's, let's say you want to increase your cardiovascular and run further, then you would practice more running. Just in the same way, if you want to get better at guitar, you would play guitar and not the piano. So specificity. That's the idea that with time, there is some increase in performance, whether it's in sets, reps, and or weight, which is the progressive overload. So there is this, a component of wanting to selectively do that yourself through trying to program that in, but maybe you might not be adapted enough to demonstrate that that increase in performance, whether it's through the sets, reps, or weight. But maybe the week after you will be able to, and when you can do that, you will perform at that higher level because it's more comfortable. And then that would then further elicit further adaptation. So it's the idea that the program is progressively getting harder with time, and that is going to allow you to continue to progress. Yeah, I just thought I'd cover that just because I think there's a big confusion about what people should be doing when they go to the gym. And a lot of people come to me and are surprised when I get them to do similar sort of exercises for, let's say, a 4 to 8 week period, whereas with previous trainers, they're usually changing week to week, or in group fitness, they're changing session to session. And the second someone comes in and just keeping to the same program for even a medium period of time, you find they progress very quickly because the parameters are the same. There's measurements of improvement because the parameters aren't changing, and they're getting better because they're practicing that skill more. Yeah, so I just wanted to make that distinction. In terms of the progressive overload and things feeling easier and being able to tell if you are actually adapting, there is a principle called reps in reserve, or rate of perceived exertion, which will tell you how difficult something is, and that will tell you whether beyond just sets, reps, or weight, if you are actually improving or adapting. But I think that is a video for another time. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you all have a great day. Peace. Once again, don't forget to like and or subscribe. It goes a long way for the channel. Yeah. Peace.